Hello there, I'm Begalius. How are you? Hope you're okay. Stupid. Okay, you know what? Perhaps I gave the wrong impression by the way I said that. I'm so sorry. Stupidity, dumbness. Unfortunately, it's a term that has a lot of synonyms, but in order to use one of those synonyms, you have to sort of over-explain it and elaborate in ways that you really don't want to, and in ways that actually just make it more offensive. So I'm just going to come straight out the bat and talk about like these eras of ridiculous stupidity, lack of cognizant thought, lack of critical thought. You know, this era that we're in is kind of crazy right now. Things are a little bit out of hand, a little bit crazy, and as you can tell by my nervous laughter, very scary times in this sense. But you know, it's easy to think these are unprecedented times. It's easy to think that, you know, what is going on? This is crazy. This is unprecedented. What's happening? People are just so much dumber than they used to be, basically. And no, I mean, this is nothing new. You know, even this brand of stupid that's going on right now, that's really exploding right now. It's nothing new. This has always, you know, happened centuries ago when the church conned almost everyone out of every penny that they had. It's a good job that's not happening anymore.
He made that airplane so cheap for me, I couldn't help but buy it.
Or the rise of power for Hitler, where he convinced a bunch of people that he'd be able to solve all of their problems, and then actually just turned them into a bunch of people who assumed that everyone who was of a different type, you know, a different type of person, a different religion, was beneath them and should be eradicated. But I'm glad that's not happening anymore.
Get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christian.
Or when, you know, Bush convinced everyone to hate everyone with a brown face and a beard so he could go to war with the Middle East for oil. I'm glad that's not happening anymore. These things have always been the case. Track back throughout history. It's always been the way. However, these are unprecedented times, and there is something different about what's happening now. And that's, man, just so much of it there is. It's coming in from all angles. You know, you had real world snake oil salesmen. These people were actually, you know, they were a thing. It's not just a term. You had these events that were sprinkled out throughout history, you know, these propaganda efforts, they happened. But it seems to be happening from everywhere, from every facet, every angle at the moment. There's so much of it going on, from Musk convincing people he's a genius whilst lying through his teeth, telling people that he's a free speech absolutist whilst simultaneously blocking certain terms that he doesn't like on his platform, to Russell Brand selling 5G blocking amulets. Russell Brand selling 5G blocking amulets for several $100s. Let me tell you, the amount of radiation that is you know, given in terms of 5G would be a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent of any X-ray that the average person will probably experience at some point of their life. It's also not how that brand of radio waves works. They're already present. It's almost like a surfboard riding waves rather than poisoning them with evil amulet hating frequencies that Russell Brand has the answer to. To Joe Rogan eating a breakfast bowl full of DMT in the morning and then asking someone if 2 + 2 really equals 4, to Trump getting on stage, the current president of the United States, who has 34 felonies, getting up on stage and telling people that people from Springfield eat dogs.
Needs more dog.
And then winning the fucking election. It's just everywhere. It's everywhere. It's coming from all angles, and it's kind of unbelievable. Like, what the hell is going on? And I think this has led to a lot of people drawing comparisons between now and between the fantastic mid-2000s, I believe it was 2006, comedy film Idiocracy. And I love this film. I think it's a great film. And I do think that we're going through a mass wave of stupidity, as I said, in unprecedented ways. But I will say this, what we're experiencing is not Idiocracy. We're seeing a lot of posts saying, this is it. We're going through Idiocracy. This is it. They predicted it. We knew it was going to happen. Idiocracy. And there are many reasons for that, because a lot of the stupidity that we're seeing now, it was present in Idiocracy and presented in a very similar way. They did do a very good job of presenting future stupidity. And I think there are like big signpost moments. For example, Terry Crews plays the president in Idiocracy, and there's a scene of him like standing on a podium, and then we have Hulk Hogan doing exactly the same thing during the Trump presidential campaign. Shocker. I don't think anyone would be surprised that the guy who is very famously and well-known, hugely racist, would be on Trump's side. A huge fan of the N-word, Hulk Hogan, which is so a lot of people would say that Idiocracy is happening because of these parallels, and the parallels are very strong, I will say that. Even when it comes down to like elocution, and things like that, the way that people are dropping their jaw and not even able to like create full sentences at this point because they're just so lost in the source. But no, it's not the same process. The thing about Idiocracy is that it's a film about something that actually is very real, and something that has a very high chance of happening, and something that honestly I am actually slightly afraid of, which is the very real notion that people who lack cognizance and lack foresight and the ability to know how to prepare, foresight is very important. It's 2020, and people who sort of lack intelligence will tend to have more kids. They just do. They tend to have more children because they lack the foresight to know that there are a lot of implications, a lot of dangers, a lot of risks that they probably don't have the ability to handle. But they lack the ability to know that. It's an unfortunate essence of almost like Darwinism. Whereas people who are more intelligent, people with more of an understanding, will tend to have less kids because they understand that, and going into it, they'll be prepared and they know, okay, this is my limit. This is where I should stop, and I shouldn't do this anymore. I don't want to play around with human life like this. So you end up with people who are less intelligent having more kids, people who are more intelligent having less kids, and of course that messes around with the gene pool, and eventually you end up with just idiots. And that is what Idiocracy is about. It's a very real thing. It's very accurate. People with more kids tend to be less intelligent. But yeah, this is the way things are, and that is not what's happening currently. What is happening is not the effect of this, weird offshoot of Darwinism, this gene pool poisoning. What's happening is the result of a propaganda campaign of convincing, knowing who to target and how to target them, using pipelines, using an over just encompassing sense of loneliness and dissatisfaction and what have you, to target people and to create a solution, and then present yourself as that solution, and then create a pipeline that leads from this to this to this to this. What we're witnessing the result, the cause and effect of a propaganda campaign. That's what's happening now, and I think it's important to say this. I think it's important to let people know this, so that we don't invalidate what is happening. We have to be prepared for these things. I remember reading about Hitler for the first time as a kid and thinking, well, no one would do that again. We did it before. There's no way it would happen again. And here we are watching it happen again. And we have to be prepared if we don't want this to happen again. And in order to be prepared, we have to understand what's going on. We're not lost here. We're not stuck here. The only positive about it being the result of a propaganda campaign versus genetic outcomes is that we can do something about this. We can shake free of this, and we can push back, which we probably wouldn't be able to do if we were actually living through Idiocracy. So it's important to understand what is happening in order to defeat what's happening, in order to stop things from getting worse. So we need to understand that no, we're not living through Idiocracy. We're victims Honestly, we are. We're victims of mass propaganda campaigns, and kinda needs to stop. It really does, or things are just going to get worse, and we're going to start watering our crops with Mountain Dew, and all the companies are going to start selling air, and they're going to be like, well, by the way, that was Lorax, not Idiocracy, and they're going to be rubbing their hands together going, yeah, well, we're not going to get anything achieved, we're not going to do anything, but hey, I just bought a new Lambo.
The PlayStation's only $149, and you can also get leading titles.